Well, the new book is entitled Surviving at the Top. There are many people who would say failing at the top.
Well, I think what the press has done is taken a situation where they see something and blown it to kingdom come. I've never seen anything like it. Whether it's a marriage, by the way, or whether it's financial, I've never seen press reporting as I have with regard to me. And I hope the general public understands how inherently dishonest the press in this country is.
Back when Barbara Walters was around, Donald Trump did not stand a chance lying through his teeth in an interview.
As a member of the press, let me try to clear up some of the things which you say are untrue. You write in your book, "My bankers and I worked out a terrific deal that allows me to come out stronger than ever. I see the deal as a great victory, and eventually the rest of the world will too." Being on the verge of bankruptcy, being bailed out by the banks,
Well, you don't have to say on the verge of
skating on
bankruptcy.
thin ice and almost drowning, that's a businessman to be admired.
You say on the verge of bankruptcy, Barbara, and you talk on the verge, and you listen to what people are
I
saying.
talk to your bankers.
Well, that's fine. And what do they say? I mean, depending on which banker you're talking to, what do they say?
This is where Trump would pivot to blaming other factors and gloat of his great deal and great deal making. Sound familiar?
Let's try to be accurate.
Go ahead.
Some of your friends have told us that you deliberately missed a payment on the Trump Castle debt so that you could negotiate this deal with the bank. Is that true?
Did I deliberately miss it? In other words, did I just say I'm not paying it
Yeah,
for a
because then I
specific
can
reason?
deal with my banks and I can get short-term, agreements over the long term.
Well, I don't want to comment as to whether or not I deliberately missed
Why
the
not?
payment.
That's important.
I think that the deal that's been worked out is a fair deal. The castle is doing very well. It's starting to do really well. Atlantic City is in the midst of a recessionary area. People are not going down like they used to because they don't have the money.
And the Taj Mahal, which was going to save everything, is just about breaking even, and your other two casinos are down 20% from last year. You have debts to pay back.
Right.
You have huge loans to pay back. You say the country is in a depression. What makes you think that you can pay back those loans? And further, what your bankers have told us is that the only way you even have a chance is by selling that property out there totally, the plaza.
Well, I don't know what the bankers have said. The plaza is a very valuable property. Everybody told me, oh, you paid too much, you paid too much. Now they're all saying what a great deal he made
No,
on the
they're not.
plaza.
It is these small interjections on behalf of Walters that really make the difference here. She has the knowledge, she knows the truth, and in turn, with her journalistic integrity, she is comfortable firing back because the facts are not on Donald Trump's side. After this interview would air on ABC News, Trump would be fuming at how poorly he allowed himself to be painted and the reaction. Thus, ex-BBC host Selena Scott, then traveling with Donald Trump on a flight from New York to Miami, heard the current president utter from his own mouth of Barbara Walters, quote, "I'm gonna get that woman, watch me." Scott would type in print in her piece, Walters, much admired by the American public, a friend of presidents, was, of course, untouchable, even though he tried to denigrate her professionally and personally. It is this same visceral hatred of women who won't do his bidding that Trump has unleashed on the journalist E. Jean Carroll, who won her civil suit against him in New York. When it comes to the media, though, it is wise to remember this.
At one point, he started to attack the press, and it's just me and my boss and him. He has a huge office, and he's attacking the press. And there were no cameras, there was nothing going on. And I said, that is getting tired. Why are you doing this? You're doing it over and over, and it's boring, and it's time to end that. You've won the nomination. And why do you keep hammering at this? And he said, you know why I do it? I do it to discredit you all and demean you all, so when you write negative stories about me, no one will believe you.
That came from Leslie Stahl, who many in this day and age will know from her time at 60 Minutes, but she has done so much in her journalism career. and yet it still rings true today. What exactly do I mean? Look no further than just a day or two ago when Donald Trump took what I am saying, and this is purely opinion based, a bribe from the Qatari government where he accepted a $400 million jet. And when you start to peel back the curtain, you then learn that Pam Bondi was a lobbyist on the part of the Qatari government. So we already have two really important variables in this entire equation. Okay. So he's at the Oval Office. He's asked about accepting the jet from ABC News, and he goes, "Oh, you're fake ABC News. I would expect dishonesty from you." He is intentionally evading the question, moving the goalpost to something completely unrelated to the question at hand. Why? Because this is what he does. He dodges, he deflects, he goes after different media. And what's most troubling about this is the failure of the American electorate to smell out BS. We have no media literacy in this country anymore. The facts don't matter anymore. Remember, I think it was during his first term when Rudy Giuliani said, "Facts are not always fact. Truth isn't always truth." BS. Truth is truth. But this is the game that they are playing to signal to their base that, you shouldn't be paying attention to prestigious media outlets. And I will agree, by the way, there are some times where they are at fault in how they cover certain things. Like the New York Times cowering in order to appease the Trump administration, going soft on many different topics that are going on right now when it comes to world news, when it comes to the country, when it comes to covering this president. It should not be treated with kid gloves. It should be treated with ferocity. And this isn't just the New York Times. This is just one example of many. But then you see how Trump attacks the press, and then the access that is given to, let's say, a Kate Max, who we covered on this very channel, the running influencer who went to the White House and interviewed Caroline Leavitt, and they didn't run. But Leavitt showed her all these different rooms in the White House. All of them. Why? Because it'll help manufacture consent for them to continue to put forth fascist policies that will crush us all. They need these people as much as these people need them. Second example, when Caroline Leavitt held a press briefing in the briefing room for MAGA influencers. This is the same stuff that Dana White talked about with the UFC and how he wants to have influencers serve as the press. Why? Because it's easier to lie. It's easier to not be fact-checked. It's easier for people to be like, "Oh, Dana gave me access. Great, amazing. I'm going to repeat everything that he says so that way I can continue having this seat." That is not the job of the press. The job of the press is to question everything and find out the facts. See if what they are saying is accurate. When you have people who mindlessly go into those press briefing rooms or interview someone like Trump or a Vance, look no further than Fox News, that is what you get. And that is a humongous problem. It is not about catering to the elite and the powerful. It is about checking them. It is about putting them on notice that they cannot lie through their teeth in every single interview, at every single press briefing, because what's most important is people having the truth and the facts. And it feels like this style of interviewing, at least with Barbara Walters, is a lost art, not just when it comes to politics, but also when it comes to sports as well, and many other areas, because so many media members are dependent on those relationships. And if you make someone who is of a higher stature look bad, then they just won't give you another interview. So I understand why some people do it. It's a slippery slope. But I think what we have seen is when you check some of these very elite, wealthy people, it is better for society instead of just mindlessly following everything they say and nodding along.